Hello YouTube, my name is Ronald. I am a lawyer who also runs tabletop role-playing games with mostly kids 11 and up. And I run several systems that include Pathfinder 2nd Edition, D&D 5th Edition, and Starfinder role-playing game. And I make this video to address kind of the idea out there that Pathfinder 2e is too complicated and is a lot of math and it's too much for me. And want to show that's kind of not really true. That it's actually quite easy to jump in. The best way to learn, of course, is by having someone who is a game master who's teaching you. And also, I would recommend the beginner box as the best way to learn Pathfinder 2e if you're going to get something from Paizo. But I think that this video could be an initial thing you look at to just get over the hump, get over the idea that, oh, this is not, this is beyond me, which it isn't. So let's go ahead. So let's look at the pre-generated characters that come with the beginner box. The first one is Valros. He is a fighter, and you'll see that a lot of things here are completely familiar if you come from D&D 5th Edition. You have hit points for your health, your speed. Your main things are in orange here. Your armor class, your attacks, and we'll see them play out in a simple combat scenario that I think will show, yes, Pathfinder 2e is a little more involved and has a little more detail, but I think leads to interesting choices and situations, and makes it my favorite edition. So here we have a scenario in which Valeros and his friend Mauricio, who is a rogue, are now walking out of a tavern, and they are chanced upon by goblins. Goblins who want to kill them. And I've already rolled initiative. Now, the way initiative works to determine who acts in what order is very simple. You just roll a 20-sided die, just like this. And let's say this is Valeros rolling 7 on his die, and he would look at his character sheet and use either one of his skills, depending on what the GM is calling for, or what is very likely, by default, going to be your initiative, your perception bonus, which shows how aware you are of your surroundings, whether someone is about to attack you. So that makes sense. So we would be adding 5 to his roll, and of 7, and his initiative would be 12. I have actually created a set order in this situation. Let's imagine they rolled initiative in this order, and the Goblin Pyro goes first. So the Goblin Pyro, well, all characters have 3 actions in Pathfinder 2e. In D&D 5th Edition, you have 1 action, and you get to do some other things in addition to that, including moving up to your speed, making a bonus action, pulling out a weapon, things like that. Now, everything I just described would be an action or more actions in Pathfinder 2e and can be exchanged for each other. So you can actually make 3 movement actions on your turn, or you can attack 3 times on your turn. So what the Goblin Pyro is going to do is cast a spell. Most spells in Pathfinder 2e use 2 actions, and it's going to cast Burning Hands on our friends, and I have this cool module that will animate that for us. He will burn them. And Burning Hands is a 1st level spell, and it does 2d6 damage. And in this, oh, they are very lucky. It does 2 fire damage to them. Now, those of you coming from 5th edition now think that you're about to make a saving throw, which is true. There are only 3 types of saving throws that you do in Pathfinder 2e. Fortitude for resisting physical things like poison or paralysis. Reflex to get out of the way of a danger like an arrow or guard yourself from a fireball. And will is to resist mental attacks, fear. In this case, for Burning Hands, we would be using a reflex. So he has a +7 bonus. He's pretty good at that. And he will do his reflex save. Now, the Pyro has a difficulty class or DC of 16. He needs to get a 16. So let's see what happens. He rolls 13. So his total is 20. He succeeds in his saving throw. And so that means he takes half damage. So we apply that to Valros. Mauricio, meanwhile, also has to do a reflex save. And Mauricio gets a 26, which is 10 higher than the number she needed to reach, which means she gets a critical success on her reflex save. So instead of getting half damage, she will take 0 damage from Burning Hands. And that's cool because it means every little +1 makes a difference. She has a +9 for reflex, and her amazing dexterity helped her there, and being a rogue, and that meant she gets 0 damage. So now, if she had rolled something very low, such as a total of 6, she would get, because 6 is 10 less than the target number, she would get a critical failure, and she would be getting double damage from Burning Hands and take 4 damage. She takes 0 in this case. Now, because the Goblin Pyro used 2 actions to cast that spell, he now moves his speed away to try to get away from the party. So he moves 25 feet to that square. Valros is next. He has 3 actions. His weapon's already out. Let's say it's a very bad neighborhood, and he was ready for action. He has his longsword and his shield out already. So he doesn't need to use any actions to take those out. So his speed is 25 feet. So he can move here as his first action. Actually, he can move there as his first action. And then he can move here as his second action, and then he can attack as his third action. Now, I'm about to play that through. However, not every fighter is the same, and because they get to choose a feat at first level, most martial fighting classes do in Pathfinder 2e, and Valoros's feat that he chose is Sudden Charge. For the cost of 2 actions, that's this little symbol here, he can stride twice, and after moving, if he is next to an enemy, make a melee attack. So this is great because he gets to do the equivalent of 3 actions, but only has to spend 2 to do them. So he sudden charges forward, he gets into the thick of things. He strides twice, goes up to the Pyro, and makes a strike. So he has a longsword. His attack bonus is 9, which is very good. Fighters are very accurate in 2e. Oh, and he rolls a 1. So that means he misses. Now, is it a critical failure? No, because strikes don't have critical failures in 2e. Now, he's not done, because he only spent 2 actions with Sudden Charge. He has a third action. So he wants to strike again. He can make a second attack as a first level character. Now, when you make more than 1 attack in 2e on your turn, you suffer what's called the multiple attack penalty. Every subsequent attack you make is going to be less and less accurate. So his second attack will have a -5 penalty to its accuracy. So as we see here, his penalty goes down from +9 to +4, and he's going to try to use this to hit. Oh, I didn't script this. As you can see, I'm doing this live. He rolled a 20, which means he, if you imagine 4 degrees of success from top to bottom, critical being the best, success being next, fail being next, and then critical failure at the bottom. What happens when you roll a 20 is you first see what your result would be. In this case, a 24 beats the AC of the Pyro, which was 17. So he succeeds at hitting it, but since he rolled a natural 20 on his die roll, it goes 1 degree of success higher. So it becomes a critical success. So he is going to get double damage, and in 2E, you double everything. You double his +4 strength bonus to damage. He has inflicted, well, he rolled 1 plus his strength bonus of 4, as you can see here. And that is a total of 5. And because he critically hit, that doubles to 10. So he does 10 damage to the Pyro. So the Pyro got a big hit. Next up is the Goblin Warrior. The Goblin Warrior is going to move here, and Valeros is able to respond. Because Valeros is a fighter, he has what's called an attack of opportunity, and is able to strike with a melee weapon any enemy that leaves a square that he threatens. So this is a little more powerful than in 5th edition because you don't have to wait for an enemy to leave your reach. And it also works in other situations, such as when an enemy uses a ranged weapon or casts most spells, or manipulates something like takes a weapon out of their pack, and so on. Well, in this case, Valeros would swing his sword. He's going to miss, though, because I want to show something. And the Goblin Warrior has 2 actions left. So the Goblin Warrior will try to hit Valeros with his Dog Slicer. A 17 does not hit Valeros. Valeros has a very nice AC of 18. Now the Goblin Warrior has a 3rd action, and so it can actually make another attempt. But note that we only subtract 4 from the Goblin's attack bonus. The reason for that is because a Dog Slicer is like a short sword. It's light and agile, and it's more accurate on follow-up attacks. So 11 plus 4 is also a miss. Valeros is unharmed. Next up is Mauricio. Now Mauricio can go up here. That's one possibility, and make some attacks. Make 2 attacks, actually. As an elf, she has a speed of 30 feet. And she's faster than most other ancestries. But Mauricio's gonna do something different. She's going to walk all the way up here, which takes 2 actions. What this does is she now is flanking the Goblin Pyro. What flanking requires in Pathfinder 2E is that you have an ally who is on opposite sides and of an enemy with you. So you and your ally are both threatening the Goblin Pyro, who's now dealing with threats from both sides. And Mauricio, as a rogue, has an additional reason than most to do this. First of all, when you flank somebody, they gain the flat-footed condition to you. Second, if she can get this attack in, as a rogue, she will get additional sneak attack damage. So she got a total of 25, and as you can see, the Goblin Pyro's armor class has been lowered to 15 because it's been flanked, and because Mauricio's total is 10 higher than the arm class, she gets a critical hit. So, okay, now if this were not a critical hit, she would be rolling damage, an additional d6 because of sneak attack. She would be doing 13 damage. But because she has a critical hit, she's going to double that. Yes, everything gets doubled. So Now she'll be rolling 2d6, add 4, and then double the total. But in addition, she has a rapier, which is particularly deadly and has the deadly property, so that when she does a critical hit, after she goes through everything else, she adds another 8-sided die of damage. So she is particularly deadly when she's flanking and does a total of 21 damage, which definitely kills our Goblin Pyro. Next up is the second Goblin Warrior, who is going to move up and use 2 actions to get right here, because goblins have a special reaction. It's in their stat block, where if one of their allies ends their movement next to them, they can, as a reaction, step 1 square. So this other Goblin Warrior has this reaction and is going to immediately move here. So goblins can have their own tricky ways to flank enemies as well. So this Goblin Warrior has 1 action left and is going to try to attack a now flanked Valros. And even that is not enough to land a hit. So things have not been going well for the goblins. Now Valros is next. Valros is... He can make an attack against the Goblin Warrior that is currently flanked. Now, let's just say he is going to miss and miss a second time. Let's say he has rotten luck as well. He can make a 3rd attack at a penalty of -10. So his bonus is normally +9. He can make a 3rd attack that is wildly inaccurate, but he has other things he can do instead of a very inaccurate 3rd attack. He can try to step, move out of the way, so that they're not flanking him. But he has another option, which is to raise his shield. Valros wields a heavy shield, which if he uses an action to raise it, it increases his armor class by 2. So, gives him a +2 bonus to armor class, which is now 20. It is now the Goblin Warrior's turn, who is now flanking Valros. Valros had decided to draw some attacks. He's a lot tankier than Mauricio, has better armor, and Mauricio is wounded. So he thought, sure, I'll be flanked. The Goblin Warrior tries to attack, and Valros is now flat-footed. So the Dog Slicer has a total of 19, which hits Valros, whose armor class is currently 18, and he will roll damage. Okay, 7 damage. Now, the Goblin would like to inflict this damage, of course. However, Valros, as a fighter, has yet another trick up his sleeve. He has the shield block reaction. Valros has a wooden shield, and that has a hardness of 3. So he says, I block it with my shield. And what that does is it subtracts 3 from the incoming damage, so that the incoming damage is 4, and that is what is applied to Valros. So his health goes down by 4, and so does the shield's. The shield's health goes down by 4. It breaks when it goes down to half health. So his shield stays up, he still gets the benefit, and the Goblin Warrior goes through with its other attacks. That's another hit. For 7 damage. Now, Valros cannot block it anymore with his shield. He cannot use shield block because he already used his reaction. Here comes the Goblin's 3rd attack. Okay, that is a miss, even though it's a very good roll. As you can see, 3rd attacks are not very accurate. Now, Mauricio gets to have a little fun here. Mauricio, and this is also the reason why Valros did what he did. Mauricio is now gets the aid of flanking from Valeros against his goblin and is going to make an attack with her rapier. She hits. A 19 is going to hit the goblin, and that will do additional sneak attack damage. So the goblin has only 6 hit points and is defeated. As her second action, she will move here and flank the other goblin, and she will make an attack, this time with her more agile dagger, which is more accurate with her second attack. And she lands another hit against this goblin and gets to apply sneak attack damage. Oh, sorry. That was critical damage. Sneak attack damage. And that is going to be 8 damage, and that defeats this goblin. So she was able to use sneak attack twice and attack twice in her last turn because of the 3-action system. I hope this demonstration showed a lot of the nuances and possibilities and interesting choices you have with just the very basic actions. We've only gone through striding, striking, and raising your shield and attack of opportunity, and one spell. Of course, there are many other things that characters can do, and martial characters in particular have many choices. So if you liked what you saw, like and subscribe, leave a comment. I'd like to do future videos along this vein that address common questions out in the community. I'd like to do another video that shows more of what these two characters can do, and another character that demystifies character creation. If you have other ideas, definitely leave them in the comments. So that's it. I'm going to leave some links also for useful resources. How It's Played is an amazing YouTube channel that explains a lot of specific rules. You can learn a lot from there. And also some resources for making characters and finding the rules online. As well as the modules I used in Foundry Virtual Tabletop. So that's it. That's my first video. I hope it was helpful. Thanks.